on the HillBilly Voodoo channel. Today on HillBilly Voodoo, we were going to do an episode about the logistics of building our extreme off-road ATV, the Sherp style bug out buggy, but we're not going to do that because that's not what HillBilly Voodoo is all about. HillBilly Voodoo is all about building stuff out of things that we find laying around, the ground obtaining them. It's not about explaining logistics of things, or is it? No, it's not about that. Anyways, we're going to go and do a recap of what we've done so far on our bug out buggy, show you the progress that we've made in the last little bit that wasn't filmed, and then we're going to go ahead and do a little bit more work on the body so that we can actually start putting things on the inside of this ATV. Stick around, see what HillBilly Voodoo is all about and what type of HillBilly Voodoo we had to come up with to build this project. Now, for those of you just finding us, we are trying to build a $160,000 Sherp style ATV out of the ground obtainium that we have laying around here, the junk that I have in the piles. So far, we've got a chassis and skeleton built out of an old farm fuel tank that we cut strips out of and welded pieces back together to build our chassis. And I left you last time with me building the front door / stairs to get into this machine. Now I'll show you how we ended up figuring out how these stairs were going to come down and stay in position so that we could climb into them. I left you guys on this project last. We were working on these stairs / door. We built our hinges, got this thing going up and down nice and smooth, but I didn't have these chains or anything in place to hold this thing from dropping all the way down and swinging around. So I just built myself some little brackets here that hold the chains. Now I had some viewers comment that I should use the cables that hold up the tailgate of a pickup. Well, I didn't have any cables to hold up the tailgate of a pickup that weren't broke, so I used these chains. Now, mounted them up here, got the triangulation right so that I can climb in and out of this machine. I'm still a little bit sketched out to these chains because they're rated for 600 pounds. But I had once tied up my dog with one of these chains, and when she came to the end of it, she broke it pretty easily. So kind of a little bit leery, but after a little bit of testing in and out, seems like they're, well, I can bounce on it. I can go in and out. So that part worked out okay. You can climb inside. When you grab the chain, you pull up on the chain, it closes. So that's one part that you guys didn't see was me building the chains, which really wasn't super exciting. Now another part are the outrigger parts of our fenders. Now in order for me to be able to start adding controls and things on the inside of our cab, I had to continue with our frame skeleton out over the tires. I want to move these tires off of here because they're just nothing but in the way right now. But in order to build everything that needs to go on the inside, I need to build the rest of the body. And I need the tires in the way to make sure it clears. So now that we got these outriggers on here, we can decide where all the stuff on the inside is going to go. I still have to add 2 more of these to the back, 2 ribs. But we can get these tires out of the way now that we know we have all our clearance and everything here. And we can start modifying these tires or working on other things. But anyways, the tires can go out of the way now. We have these, I guess, yeah, we can call them outriggers. The rest of the body is going to hopefully continue up off of here, but that's just something else that's going to be in the way. So until that time, we'll just leave all that for later on. So I'll show you the process of putting these things in place. Like I say, I have 2 more to put on the back, and I'll get this tire out of the way so that we can do that. Now the thing with these tires is they're really large, they're really heavy. They are over 400 pounds a piece, and I really don't want to move them all that much. So I'm hoping that I can get this out of the way here and not have to put it back in place for quite some time until I get at least a whole lot more done on this project. I'm going to put some small tires on it so that I can move it around in the shop here a little bit more easily and be able to actually get around the thing a little bit better. So hopefully this will be the last time that I have to pull this wheel on and off of here. Now you see all those dudes doing their CrossFit flipping tires? Yeah, this is how you actually move real tires, guys. You roll them. That's why they're round. Okay, now I have clearance in here that I can work. So we have our last outrigger here, and in order to get this all lined up here, the only way I can think of doing this is to take our level, clamp it on here like this. You see that the bubble's level. Well, you guys might not be able to see that, but the bubble's level. Take this last outrigger piece here, stick it up into place like that, line it all up, and we're going to tack that into place. Then we're going to take a tape measure, measure across here, and measure across here down lower. If the measurements are the same, then we're going to know that this one is square this way and that way, and we'll adjust it. I won't show you me tacking it. Show you me. Yeah, that totally made sense. I won't show you me tacking this in place because most of my subscribers know that I don't do welding on camera. So let's stick this in here and see if it's in the right spot. Well, now that we have those pieces all welded in there on both sides, we have an idea of the internal compartment space of our machine. Now I can climb up in there and sit in that seat and decide where my controls are going to be. That is not going to be the seat that I use. It's just kind of propped up in there on some blocks and such. I'm going to be using a suspension seat, but that is the height at which I want my seat. So I'll climb up in there and decide where I should put my steering levers and my shifter for the transmission, and whether I'm going to have enough room to make all this work or not. Yeah, hopefully things will go in a spot where it's kind of ergonomically correct, or at least I don't have to twist myself into some weird contorted thing to work the controls. The majority of the braking controls that we're using, the discs, the rotors, and the actual control levers are coming out of our smart tank. If you haven't seen this thing before, you should, well, either go and check out the rest of the channel or subscribe and check out the rest of the channel. Why are we taking this thing apart? Well, because we had a truck roll down the driveway and smash into the back of it, and it messed up the frame, and the frame all needs to be rebuilt. So we're going to rob the pieces out of here that we know work and use them in our ATV project. And then when we do end up rebuilding the smart tank, which we will one day, we can put new stuff in it. So let's show you what we're going to steal out of here today. So we'll be using this rotor and caliper. We'll probably steal the brake lines that go back to it. And we will be using our control levers. Grab the right stick, pull back on it, turns right. Grab the left stick, pull back on it, turns left. Pretty basic. Just gonna unbolt that. Take that down to the shop and see where we're gonna be able to mount it in our new buggy that will be ergonomically correct and hopefully be in a position where I won't be constantly smashing my knees into it. I probably won't show you the unbolting of this because there's only really, I think there's only 2 bolts holding it in there, and I don't know where I could position the camera where you could see it where my big fat head wouldn't be in the way. So let me unbolt that and take it out of there, and we'll take her down to the shop. We're back down here in the shop now, and I have our control levers propped up there on a board, kind of where I think I might want them. I'm going to climb up there in the seat and see if they're in a fairly good position or how much modifying I'm going to have to do. I may have to build different handles for them just to make them in the right spot, but kind of looks like a good position. Now for anybody that's curious, these are clutch master cylinders out of 80s Toyota pickups. They fit all kinds of other models also. I believe their imperial equivalent is a 5/8 bore. I'm not quite sure what the stroke is. I've used these on many different projects because they're super cheap. These ones were somewhere around $11 to my door at the time. That was 3 or 4 years ago now, so I'm sure they're a little bit more than that now, but easy 2-bolt mount. I have used these as turning brakes on a Dana 60 with GM brakes in it, on turning brakes for a yarder with a corporate 14-bolt with disc brakes. I have also used them on brakes on a drift car with a Ford 9-inch. So they're pretty versatile. You don't really have to apply much leverage to them. If you can sort of kind of see the setup I got here. You don't really have a huge amount of leverage to apply a lot of pressure and a lot of braking force. With a 5/8 bore, I haven't had any problems with any real disc brake cylinders that I've found. So if you're out there looking for a cheap brake hydraulic master cylinder, that's what it is. Oh, I've used them in quite a few different go-kart type applications too. So like I say, they're cheap. And I think out of probably the 60 or so that I've bought, I think I've had 2 that were no good, being $11 or $12 a piece, whatever they were with taxes. So not too bad a failure rate. Okay, let's stop yapping and let's climb up in there and see if where this block is going to be is actually going to work. Well, let's see if I can flail my way up into here without falling down and hurting myself. The floorboards are not bolted in, so I got to be really careful where I step on them. Okay, those are probably, maybe I could go ahead a little bit more. Can't really get my leg in here because the board's in the way, but sitting comfortably in the seat. Those should be pretty much in a good spot there. Out of the way when I get in. My knee's gonna smash that. I'm probably gonna have to soften the edges on these a little bit. Just because I can see, well, I don't really have the seat all the way back here right now either, so. Go ahead just a little bit more. Not gonna smash my knees. As you can tell, I'm concerned with smashing body parts because pretty sure that this is going to be a fairly violent ride, and I'm going to build a suspension seat that will be bouncing up and down, so I don't want flailing body parts smashing on things. And as you can also see with our outrigger pieces here, where my arm position is going to be, we'll probably put a little armrest type thing, lots of shoulder width here. When I can scoot my butt over a little more past this board, I'll be lined up pretty good here. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good spot for them. Steer with that. Now I can put a gear shift down here to control the transaxle. It's the first time that I've sat up here. Feels pretty powerful. You're up a long ways, and this is actually where the ride height and everything's going to be, so yeah. Now let's figure out a way that we can build some type of little dash plate that we can bolt this block down to instead of this stupid board here. That's a good position. Well, like anything else, I guess we can always take it out and redo it if it don't work, right? Gives us a place to start off with. So let's see if I can get out of here now without any injuries. So let's measure what we're going to need here for a plate of steel that we can build our little dash mount thing out of. Now, how can we do this? This is the bottom of the mount here. There's holes, all kinds of different holes drilled in there for different positions that when I built it. Now we're looking at a piece about 8 inches by, let's say, how about it's kind of a weird shape here, so let's go 8 inches by 8 inches by at least 10.5. 8 by 10.5. Okay, so let's go check the piles of ground obtainium and see if we can find a piece of metal that's thick enough that we can use as a mount that's 8 by 10.5. Remember that, 8 by 10.5. Did you guys remember? What was it? 8 by 10.5, right, okay. Well, let's go check out the piles of ground obtainium and see if we can find ourselves a piece of metal that's gonna work. Yeah. Well, we've got some thinner plate here. A feed chute from something, but I don't think that's going to be big enough. Let's measure it. Well, it's 10.5 by 10. So maybe it's a kind of a weird angle in that place that we're going, so maybe that'll work. We'll take that. What else have we got in here?
Yeah, what else you got in there?
Some weird cut up pieces here. That's a triangle. That's 11 by 12. So we'll take that piece too, see if that'll work. Spring must be here. Ducks are going mental, quacking their heads off. Oh, what else we got here? Well, if all else fails, we have a really rusty piece there. It was an old table. Already cut some chunks out of there for another project, but I want to either use that or that there for the engine mount plate for our mini monster chopper. So if I can get away with not using any of that steel, then I will. And that stuff there's too thin. So let's grab those pieces, take them inside, and see if they're going to work. And if not, then we'll come out and chop some chunks out of this stuff. So that triangular piece there looks like it might just work. You can see we might be able to slide it back in there just far enough back to here and cut it off on the front here, and it should be just big enough to do what we need it to. So I'll pull all this stuff out of the way here and see if it will. Well, looks like that might be our bonus piece. Yep, that's what we're gonna go with. Let's mark that here. Chop it off there and tack it in place and see if it's, oh, it looks like it's gonna work. Hopefully it will. Well, we got our little piece of steel welded in there now. Now let's stick our control lever block thingy, that thingy there. Stick that back up on there and mark some holes to drill, and we'll bolt her down. We got our controls bolted down there now, and I forgot to turn the camera on, but I did drill a hole right here so that our brake lines can come up through and feed into each one of these master cylinders. Looks like we got her in a good position. It's going to be a real thing, I guess. One step farther to making this thing go vroom vroom. So I think we'll leave this video here. So until next time, guys, use what you got to make what you want, and I'll see you guys later.